Hey everybody, this is Ann Soares. Welcome to another episode of Meet the Candidates. Today I am joined in studio by Ed Pacheco. He is running for state representative to serve residents in the 9th Bristol District. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, thank you.
It's nice to see you.
Thank you, it's nice to be seen.
Yeah, we like that. It's a rainy morning here, thanks for coming out in this not so ideal weather.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's New England. If you don't like the weather, wait 10 minutes, it'll change. So,
Or maybe a day.
or a day.
Your point's well taken.
Yeah.
So for folks that may not have had the opportunity to meet you, talk with you, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background.
Sure.
And where you...
So, I'm a married dad. I have 6 daughters. My daughters are, 30 to 18 years old. Our last 2 daughters just graduated from high schools this year.
Wow.
One of them was from Dartmouth High. The other one was from Bristol Aggie. And, we're just, super busy, obviously. Having that many daughters, we've been in the community many years. When you're a dad, you get roped into coaching soccer and doing this and doing that. So, over the years, I've been involved with DGAL and DYFL for cheerleading, and for most part, I've worked in community service or helping other people for over 25 years. I owned my own small business for 14 years, which was a medical transportation company.
Oh, wow.
Helping people that otherwise wouldn't have transportation to or from doctor's appointments. And then after COVID, that kind of hurt the business a lot. So it made the decision to close the company and go to work in nonprofit, where I've been. And now I work with individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities.
Okay.
Love the work. I oversee 7 locations. We transport between 400 and 600 people a day.
Oh, wow.
From various either residents or group homes to their programs so that they can get the services that they need. Love the job. And for the past 15 years or so, in one capacity or another, I've always carried some kind of second job because like a lot of working people in the South Coast, and in particular in the 9th Bristol District, people need extra income. The cost of living in this district has gotten considerably higher. So prior to my run for state representative, my second job was I would moonlight as a bartender to get that extra income that is needed. So when the opportunity came up and I heard that the existing incumbent wasn't running for re-election, this was something that I've always been committed to in terms of public service. And I thought that this would be a really good opportunity for someone like myself to go to Beacon Hill to actually make a difference for people that understand what it means to be a working person and be able to carry those values into Beacon Hill. So that's why we're sitting here today.
Yeah, and it's a pretty wide field. There's 4 of you.
There is 4. There's a double primary. So there's a Democratic primary, which I'm in, and there's a Republican primary. And I think that's good for the process because it gives people the opportunity to hear not only the perspectives of the candidates, but to hear the opposing sides. Sometimes I think that when you and I'm sure there are incumbents that would disagree with me on this, but when you've ran unopposed for so many years, that can reflect in your service sometimes, not always. But so I think this is a good vetting process. It gives people the opportunity to really see and hear who the candidates are and what they're looking to do and what's important, or as they see important issues in the district. For me, one of my chief issues right now is, and I've been talking about this for over 6 months, is the need for Dartmouth to have an upgraded wastewater system. Our wastewater system saw a report the other day in Dartmouth Weekly that we are now over our 80% threshold, which is dangerous.
New Bedford is having a very similar challenge.
They sure are. And, the other issue that we have in Dartmouth is the fact that we're continuing to have to buy water for our existing population from our neighbors in New Bedford. Last year we spent $2 million on water. This year we're projected at $3 million in water. So we need to start talking about actual infrastructure solutions. And I've been doing that pretty regularly. I've pledged to be a full-time state representative, which means that I would be giving my notice at my position currently, and my sole focus would be the 9th Bristol District. I'm not going to be running a side business. I'm not going to be juggling between roles. This is what the focus has to be, because we need, as of today, $50 million to repair our wastewater or upgrade our wastewater system. By the time this project actually gets off of the road and built, now we're looking at maybe $60 million. And if we don't have someone on Beacon Hill advocating regularly through the governor's office and through other legislators, we're going to end up bearing most of that financial burden our own rather than getting the state aid that we need. And there are so many people in the 9th Bristol District and in Dartmouth that are working families, that are seniors, that have lived in their houses for years, that are already having trouble keeping their head above water.
Right.
They won't be able to afford that additional assessment. Our water bills have gone up about 20% over the past 2 quarters already, and there's really no end in sight on that. So it's going to be very important for us to have someone that's going to make that commitment that this is what my focus is. It's not about me. It's about the district. It's not about me trying to focus on keeping this business going and do the state rep work in between.
Yeah.
It's got to be eyes on.
It's going to be a nearly impossible balance. I mean, I have not met, I've met one other candidate that is in your same race. There were 2 that I have not met yet. I hope to have the opportunity to meet them. But it would seem impossible with voting schedules and commitments and things like that to maintain another full-time job. And we have really some complicated challenges that need to be addressed.
We have some huge challenges.
Statewide and very local, for sure.
I mean, I know one of the biggest issues in part is our funding formulas. Our funding formulas in Massachusetts are broken. And it seems like some communities get a lot more than other communities. I know for Dartmouth, for every dollar that we send to Beacon Hill, we get about 26 cents back. That should be more in the 30s. And again, this calls for being a full-time state representative in order to be able to be there, be present, and advocating for the district. If it's I only have to vote on Wednesdays and I can be out of Beacon Hill the rest of the time, well, that's what you get. You get what you pay for. So with me, I will be there. We have to be there.
Aside from just showing up to vote,
Right.
all of the due diligence that you need to do in order to be able to cast a vote that truly represents the people that you're looking to serve. I mean, the reading, the background, who is involved, all the things that might go along with a large infrastructure project like what you were just talking about. And that's one issue.
That's one issue.
I mean, there's a myriad of issues that, we'll certainly kind of work our way through, but there's no way you could do that while working 40, 50 hours a week doing something else.
I call it legislative bingo, because if you look at all of the bills that come out of the House, they all have a series of numbers behind them. You could lose your mind trying to keep track of, H1234 or, what have you. And so you really have to, basically create a cheat guide for yourself on what you're keeping track on. Because, I mean, I'm not a stranger when it comes to logistics. I oversee 7 locations. We're transporting 400 to 600 people a day at various addresses. I know logistics, but in good conscience, in order to be able to efficiently do this job, you have to be dialed in. And I have the ability to make that commitment. So and that's what we will do because that's what the job calls for.
Right, right. And I think that's definitely an important distinction. If there are other candidates out there that are not going to make that commitment, that may be, reason for pause, if you will, if you're looking for who to cast a vote for, because there is just so much involved.
I can't speak to what the other candidates are thinking, nor would I want to.
Right.
They can speak for themselves. But I know that in the feedback that I've received from the people that I've spoken to going door to door and at public events, people are tired of status quo representation, and they are all in the same boat. We need a full-time representative. If you can't make that commitment, then you shouldn't be on the ballot.
Yeah, yeah. I've had an opportunity to go through your website. There's quite a bit of information, a lot of position statements and things on your website. One of the top things, they're probably in no particular order but one of the top things on the list was energy. And you're talking about making things a little bit more affordable for people in your district. How do you propose that we might address the rising, electricity costs and heating costs and all the things related to energy?
It's great that you mentioned that. And yes, my website is probably one of the most comprehensive websites of any of the candidates. I kind of poke fun a bit that, if you look at my website, there's 9, 10, 11 different issues of where I stand, things that I want to focus on. You look at my opponents' websites as of, say last week, and they all pretty much say the same 3 things. This is who I am. This is what I do for work. I'm a nice guy, vote for me. We need more than that. And I feel like with transparency, which is huge, everybody wants transparency. It started last year, the year before, with the vote on the audit, where 72% of the people, not just Democrats, not just Republicans or independents, but everyone, which is rare, got together and said, hey, we want transparency in our legislature. We want to know what's going on. We want to know how the sausage is made, but yet somehow we're still not there. So I believe in full transparency. So that's why I put the information on my website. And I tell everyone, if it's on my website and you're hearing it from me, then it's legitimate. If you don't hear it from me and it's not on my website, then you should probably second guess it.
Right.
But to answer your question, yeah, utilities are ridiculous. We all open the same utility bills, and depending on the house that you're in, we're tired of these electric bills that have what seem like these mini surcharges for everything. It seems like there's a daylight charge, there's a nighttime charge, there's I open the refrigerator light charge. Enough is enough. And we really have the right to know, what are all of these charges? Where's that money going? We should never have a $500 electric bill where $130 or $140 of that is of use, and the other $360 some odd dollars are miscellaneous fees. We have the right to know where that money is going.
That list of fees seems to grow, by the quarter.
Yeah.
Here's another whatever.
And I believe we're actually set to get hit with another increase.
Just August 1st, I
Thank
read.
you. Yeah. So, where's our money going? We have the right to know. We should know. I know just the past 2 billing cycles for my own bill, because I see the electric bill. It's not one of those things that just gets auto paid. I wish there was a fairy godparent that just waved the utility wand and said no utility payments necessary.
Right.
But that doesn't work. So my May to June bill was about $300. My June to July bill was almost $400. And I know part of that was we had that really high heat wave area where it was like 90 degrees every day. So yeah, people are using air conditioners. But I always find it interesting how we get these rate drops after the times where we don't necessarily need those services. Like, oh, we're going to waive the fees or we're going to drop the rate for gas between April or March to May. Well, great. That's when it's warming up. How about helping us out when it's December, January, February, when we're getting 12-degree temperatures?
Right.
So part of my plan would call on, again, and I think we've made some small steps forward the last legislative session with trying to call the DPU to the mat to get them to do the regulation that they should be doing with utilities. I know that we have kind of suspended funding for Mass Save, which is part of those fees bundles that we're getting.
Yeah. Well, now they call it out.
Right.
Specifically, you can see,
Right.
public assistance programs, or
Yep.
there's a section that's called
And
out.
that's good because, again, we need transparency. But, I kind of giggle a bit when I see these advertisements because we've really created an entire industry about energy efficiency that this is a free service to the homeowner. And it's not a free service.
Right. It's free to the user.
It's free to the user, but
free.
it is being paid for. And in fact, we've almost created an entire, industry of companies that their sole income is based on what Mass Save creates for consumers. And that's a little dangerous, I think.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot to be said about having energy efficient homes. Absolutely. But I also think that we shouldn't be putting the financial burden on people like our retirees that are having enough trouble trying to make ends meet in their homes. They're being outpriced because they, had the fortune of buying, their homes when they were $40,000 or $50,000.
Right. Many
Now
years
they're
ago.
being valued at $600,000. Their tax bases have gone up. And yes, there are some small assistance programs for income eligible seniors, but that's very little comfort when you're still getting a $200 or $300 utility bill. So those are the things that I really think that we need to focus on in terms of the utilities, at least.
Yeah, and I mean, between utilities and state funding, I mean, I've had this conversation a number of times with a number of different people. It's a cumulative effect. It's the rising cost of utilities. It's the rising cost of health insurance. It's the rising cost of homeowners insurance. It's all of these things. Because I've heard, social media is an interesting melting pot of information and comment. But we just had an override discussion, not surprising, a lot of communities have. And many people in my town were like, well, it's only $8 a day.
Yeah.
It's like, right, that may be factually true, but we're not looking at that in a vacuum.
Right.
It's $8 a day for this thing,
Right.
and then it's another $100 a month for something else, and another $100 a month for something. All of those, $50, $100 increases over time just make it almost impossible, especially for seniors, people on fixed incomes.
And Dartmouth has a very large over 60 population. And I'll tell you, for what it's worth, $8 a day may not sound like a lot of money. But in dollars and cents terms, that's $240, give or take, a month that have to be picked up. For me, that means I would be working 3 shifts at the bar in order to be able to make that additional money. And I have the availability to do that.
Right.
But for the 75 or 80-year-old senior that may be a single income because perhaps they're widowed or that's not so possible. And that's, when you have an aging population, that's part of the challenge of keeping your income source or your revenue for your town coming in. This is why it's so important for us to work on affordable housing for young working families and professionals. I have, as I mentioned, 6 daughters. My second oldest is 27 years old. She's an educator at Taunton High School, and she can't afford to live alone in an apartment in Dartmouth on a teacher's salary. So we're pushing out the people that grew up in our communities, and they're having to go elsewhere. And if we don't start doing things now to try and control affordable housing costs, and not just affordable housing costs, but utility costs, and those types of things that all add up that you talked about. we're going to lose our growth in terms of young families because young families bring dollars. They invest in the community. They're part of the school systems. They're spending money here. If you don't have them, you don't get that additional revenue. So it's a big circle of financial life that really is a detriment.
It's interesting that you mentioned that your daughter is 27, because one of the more recent statistics is that adults aged 18 to 34, 56% of that population are considering leaving
the state.
And then you have that statistic with the additional news that we've seen a lot of companies just say, you know what, it's too expensive to do business here. We're gonna go elsewhere.
Yeah.
Cape Cod Potato Chip did it earlier this year. Raytheon did it a couple of years ago. Coca-Cola just announced that they're closing their plant. Bob Kraft is making it. The list just goes on and on.
Sure.
And I think it's easy for people to, dare I say, comment, well, it's only 40 jobs, it's only 10 jobs, it's only fill in the blank number of jobs. You get enough of those businesses,
and that's where your impact comes.
I mean, you're talking thousands potentially. And in places, Coca-Cola is way out in Western Mass.
Sure.
It's not a heavily populated, Coca-Cola probably is the
Major
central
employer.
point for that community.
Yeah.
So how do you reemploy these people? We have a lot of work to do in terms of creating opportunity.
Yeah.
So that people can get jobs that are well-paying.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, we have work to do on reducing the cost of living.
The other piece of it as well is, our infrastructure. We have to, and I think we've started to recognize this in the past couple of years. But if, for me, as a parent, when my children were younger, the reason why we relocated to Dartmouth when I was in my mid-20s was because of Dartmouth's education system. They had an impeccable reputation for a high-quality education. And having worked in the school system myself, I was a night security officer, again, one of my second jobs. But getting to know the educators that were working in the schools, having experienced firsthand the quality of the educators when my children were going through the schools, it was definitely there, and it still is. But we have to stop asking our educators to do more with less. So, we have to fix our 70 funds because, again, we're getting 26 cents or so per buck that we send to. We need that extra 7 or 8 cents because then we can put that money towards our education systems, which again make the community appealing to young families with young children. There shouldn't be a day really where we're having to think about, do we have to have bake sales to fund our education? There's something wrong with that, I think. So, again, something that we need to talk about and we need to work on.
Yeah. What do you think about Mike Minogue, who is running for the governor's seat right now? His big push is the federal scholarship tax credit, which the state of Massachusetts has not opted into. That's one of the many spokes, if you will, on the wheel that, he's saying, listen, this could solve some of the education problem. It's not a fix-all, but would draw a little bit more money into, the much needed education that every city and town, needs and wants in order to attract, families, young families. What are your thoughts on that as a source? Maybe, again, I don't think anyone's saying it solves the problem. But.
Right. I don't think there's ever a magic wand that will ever fix part of the problem with education. I think we've taken a great step in terms of how we're funding our education with, for example, community colleges. We're one of the few states that offers now the ability for people to get a free 2-year education, which waives a lot of the fees that these folks would know. I know for my children. So, for example, when my second daughter went through to get her degree, she walked out with over $60,000 in college debt that she'll be paying on for
A while.
10 years, 15 years, maybe. So, you know, having that ability for people to get 2 years under your belt without any additional cost, that's very appealing. And I think it helps a lot of working class people. But, you know, without having really seen or heard what the details, because the devil is always in the details.
Sure, yeah, 100%.
I really don't think I would be in a position to comment on if it would be a pro or a con. In terms of Mr. Minogue himself, I haven't met him. I haven't really done any research about him per se, in part because I'm focused on my own race as state representative. And what I can do to help impact my district. Now, with that being said, if for some reason he was elected governor, you know, there's going to have to be some cross the aisle relationship building with that administration. It seems like the Republicans have pretty much already elected their nominee by de facto, you know, the whole situation that happened with the fraudulent signatures and somebody getting thrown off the ballot. So now you're.
It's been an interesting conversation on that side of the fence.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh, I'm sure. But you know, I found it ironic that the party that tends to focus on voter fraud and insecurity had it happen to one of their own candidates in terms of, you know, you hired this agency who turned around to be a fraudulent agency.
It's wild.
That got this candidate not even a real shot at trying to get on the ballot. And I think I heard she's trying to do some kind of write-in ballot now or
And
something.
Brensley, yeah, I did read that. I don't know how far along that is, but you know, that'll shake itself out in time.
But you know, those are someone else's issues for me to deal with. I'm focused on what I can do to help make the 9th Bristol District better. Not just better for one segment, not better just for homeowners or small businesses, but for everyone. Because when working families succeed, we all succeed.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of tone that we need to bring to the 9th Bristol District. And I think that I'm uniquely positioned to be able to do that, being a working family person myself.
And I am a fan of, my understanding is that all 4 people that are in this race are relatively new to politics, which for me is a bit of a breath of fresh air. I mean,
3 of the 4 are. Hank Bousquet, he was a former city councilor in New Bedford. He was there for a number of years. You know, I've known Hank on a personal level for a number of years. As a matter of fact, I've known both of the Republican candidates on some kind of level for a number of years. I went to high school with Chester Tam. We were classmates. His daughter and my daughter were classmates in high school. She's been to my house. You know, and on personal levels, you know, I'm very social, you know, with them. I can be social with them. Politically, we tend to disagree pretty heavily on the approach of things. But, you know, it's that adulthood of being able to separate the personal relationship from the political relationship, I think is what's most important. Mr. Medeiros, I do not know much about. Other than what I've heard. I've met him a few times. I've met his wife a couple of times. She's a very lovely lady, very gracious when I've met her. And, you know, my wife and I have met them a couple of times. Other than what you hear in the general public about him being a realtor, I don't know. You know, but
I mean, nor would you
I don't
really
have an
focus
ill
on
will. I don't have an ill word to say about any of the candidates. That's not my job. My job is to tell people who I am and what I'm hoping to represent for the district.
And I hope that this field of, you know, relatively new field, I mean, you don't have, you know, the same old, you know, stepping up into. I hope this brings people out to vote.
I hope it does.
Regardless of what side of the aisle folks are on, like, just get out and vote.
You know, Dartmouth in particular tends to have a very interesting voting history. In particular, Precinct 3, which is the precinct I think we're pretty much sitting in here with your
Okay.
studio, which is close by to UMass Dartmouth, historically has one of the lowest voter turnouts.
Interesting.
Well, my understanding is they moved the voting precinct to UMass Dartmouth to try and encourage the college kids that were here to get involved in local politics. And the experiment, I know that it's gotten a little bit better, but I don't think it's on par with, say, Precinct 9, which always has a really high voter turnout, which tends to be down over towards Padenham Village area.
Got it. Okay.
But, when you think about the fact that you have a couple of thousand potential voters in that one section of UMass Dartmouth, and you get a 7%, 8% turnout if you're lucky sometimes, it's tough.
And local elections in general tend to get lower turnout.
They do, and the surprising thing is, I've always said that local elections are your purest form of voting. You are directly electing your representatives. You're electing your Board of Health people. You're electing your select board or city councilors or your mayor. And when you sit home, you're giving your vote away.
Yeah.
So there are always things that are involved that are external. You get a good weather day, you get a higher turnout. You get a day like this, you lose 25% of your voters. They're just like, it's a primary, it doesn't really matter. I'll vote in the general election. The primary really is where the soup starts.
Yeah.
Because that's where you're deciding, hey, this is going to be the representative for, who I believe in. That's the representative for this party. And if you don't vote in the primary, the person that you were hoping that were going to be there for the general might not be there.
Yeah.
So absolutely, you got to get out and vote.
I agree with you, and I've often said, as a real estate advisor myself, I've often said to people, if you're angry about the cost of living, you need to pay very close attention to who is running your town governments, who's making decisions about zoning, who's making the decisions closest to you, because those are, what you pay for property taxes isn't decided in Washington.
No, it's voted on in your local city hall, and some of those, so for example, in New Bedford, they have an assessor's office, and everything goes through the process there. I know a couple of the assessors there, and obviously it has to get approved and what have you. But here, your tax rates are getting all set by the boards in Dartmouth that happen during their meetings that are open meetings. You should absolutely be walking into town hall, into, room 305 or 315 or wherever they're having those meetings, and make your voice heard. At the end of the day, they all have a bottom line that they have to reach because we have a community that we have to operate. But there are considerations. So, if you're not pleased with the way that your town is funding your school system, get over there and have your voice heard. And the way that you do that is by casting your vote.
Yeah.
So, the first time I voted, I was 18 years old. I turned 18 in January, and that September, I voted. And I voted in virtually every election that I've been in around for since then.
Yeah, same.
Same. And I've even when my children were little, I would bring my children with me to the polls to make it a norm for them that I expect them to this is part of your civil obligation. There are very few civil obligations here that we take for granted, and voting is one of them. I think. Jury duty obviously is the other. And I can tell you, of the civil obligations, voting is probably a lot less painful and time consuming than getting called for jury duty. So, if that's your contribution to society for whatever reason, you should be exercising it.
And it's not really a heavy lift.
No.
I mean, you're talking maybe an hour out of a day, maybe, arguably a little more
I
if you're
think it
doing your
depends on
research
where you are, and if but I know in Dartmouth and in New Bedford, the election commissioner in New Bedford, him and his team, they do a lot of training. They're very efficient with the New Bedford polls. Dartmouth, the town clerk's office, their volunteers. You have people that have been doing it for 20 years or so. They know their business.
Yeah.
And, they know how to do the work. I think the longest I've ever waited on like a peak election to vote, maybe 5 or 10 minutes to get to the ballot box. And that's if you're at like one of the rush hour times between that 7 and 9 window,
Right.
and then your 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock window.
You have to work.
You
Right,
have
yeah.
you have to work. But for the most part, I think we can, and even now with the absentee balloting, you can get your ballot mailed to you.
Yeah, they all
if you
just got
can't-
mailed out. I mean,
Yeah,
we got
the
ours.
applications.
Yep.
So, if for whatever reason you have a health condition or you're going to be away on vacation, my youngest daughter's boyfriend actually just went into the military, and he's not going to be here to vote. And he was like, Mr. Pacheco, I want to be able to vote. I'm like, get yourself an absentee ballot. They'll mail it down to, I think he's in Fort Sill, Oklahoma.
Yep.
They'll mail it to you. Send it in.
Yep.
But, all of my daughters are registered to vote. So I kiddingly said, well, I know I'm going into this with at least 7 votes. So that's good. So, and if I don't get at least 7 votes, then I'm going to have to start looking at the house.
Yeah.
On who didn't go.
I have to start asking some questions.
Start asking some questions. Who doesn't want groceries this week?
Exactly. I want to shift gears a little bit to healthcare.
Yeah.
Healthcare has gotten incredibly expensive.
Sure
and
has.
again, I was looking at your website. There is a bill that's sitting on the floor right now. It hasn't been passed, but that's being batted back and forth. That you
They just
had
voted
expressed some interest in at least looking
healthcare
at.
for all. Absolutely. This is a bill that needs serious consideration. It really would help take the edge off of the cost of healthcare for everyone. Now recognizing that, we don't want to destroy the economy of Massachusetts. And let's be frank, health insurance agencies are one of the largest employers in Massachusetts. So if you were to suddenly create a process like healthcare for all, you would have to have things in place for things like job re-education. And that's why I think that this committee is so important, because it will start to vet out a lot of those what ifs if we move forward. This isn't something that is just going to happen overnight. But yeah, the cost of health insurance across the board have just gotten out of hand. And I think it's not just a Massachusetts issue, it's a nationwide issue. When you look at what the costs of medications are, we've all heard the stories. You can go to Canada, you can go to Mexico, prescription insulin that you pay, $300 for here, you're paying $30 for across the border. Those things need to be looked at, because we're hurting our own people. And we can't rely on the insurance agencies or the insurance companies to do the right thing, because at the end of the day, they're publicly traded companies that their focus is to make money for themselves and their shareholders. And, that's great. But at the end of the day, we should be able to offer alternatives. The other thing that I thought you were going to talk about when you mentioned healthcare is my proposal in terms of increasing the number of healthcare workers that we have, that we need in the area. Anyone that's tried to make an appointment at South Coast or Hawthorne Medical, you could wait months as a new...
I did it for a year and a half.
Yeah.
And then I just got a letter. I finally felt like I was fully established, and I just got a letter saying I'm retiring.
Yeah.
You're going to have to go back into the pot and
Back
find
into the
another,
pot and find another provider.
find another provider.
So one of the proposals that I would like to put together, and I've started trying to vet out with some existing lawmakers, is a preceptorship program. So our nurse practitioners and our physician's assistants, we can't just create new doctors like this, which is where the shortage is.
Right.
But what we can do is help to encourage people that are in positions to go for nurse practitioner or physician's assistant's degrees, which will give us access to more healthcare professionals. But the way that we would do this with my proposal is through this preceptorship scholarship program. So what we would do is we would create a grant in this pilot program, and we would set a certain dollar amount aside. Some of these programs would actually, it's just a matter of putting them under existing budgets that have been created that just haven't been utilized. And what it would do is it would reward people for going to finish their nurse practitioner's degrees or their physician's assistant's degrees. It would do two things. One, it would encourage people to take on preceptorships. So in order to become a nurse practitioner or a physician's assistant, you have to study under somebody else. But there's no incentive for people to take you under their wing in order to do this.
Okay.
So the first proposal would be to give them grants for taking these people on, which would help them meet the hours that they need in order to be able to get their caseload, their workload in. The second thing would do is we would create with the public universities, which we've already started doing. But in this case, in order to encourage people to finish their nurse practitioners or their physician's assistants degrees, if you give us 3 years or 5 years in public healthcare, not private healthcare, public healthcare, we will give you the education that you need for zero through our state universities, not public universities, private universities, state universities. You guarantee us 3 years or 5 years of healthcare in the public sector where we're desperate for people, then we'll eat the bill for that 40 grand through, again, money that's already been earmarked. And the reason why I say we do this as a pilot program is then we can gauge how much interest there actually is from students to do this.
Yeah.
If we run the program for a year or 2 years, and let's say we do it for 100 students, and we get 10, okay, then maybe there's not such an interest. But if we run it for 100 people, and we get 100 people with a wait list of another 300 people, well, now we know we're on to something. And the nice thing about it is that these nurse practitioners and physician's assistants are treating patients that need quality care alongside physicians. Yeah. They're seeing 10, 20, 30 patients a week, times 52 weeks, you're talking about 1,500 patients a year, times another 100. You're talking about potentially 15,000 patients a year that are being seen and receiving healthcare services that otherwise may have to wait. Yeah. So it's a small investment up front. It's it would be under a pilot program, so it wouldn't become a main
Well,
budget.
that would give you the opportunity to work out the kinks too. I mean, there's going to be no system is perfect out of the gate,
right? And
that would give you an opportunity to say, oh, well, this isn't working so well, or we tweak this, or and you get the feedback from people that are participating and
But it's one step forward to trying to find the solution. Rather than just cursing the darkness, we're lighting the candle.
Yeah.
And that's what a good state representative should be doing is looking outside the box of how do we fix these issues.
Yeah, I mean, for sure we need new doctors. I mean, that's and practitioners in general. There's a shortage. I think it seems like there's been a shortage for a number of years. Like COVID seems to be the starting point for a lot of things.
Yeah.
What's always struck me as curious, just getting back to the health insurance part of it for a second, the cash price, in other words, if I walked into a doctor and said, listen, my arm's broken, how much would it cost you to put a splint on it, whatever. The cash price for that versus what they charge going through health insurance is just wild to me.
Yeah.
And that's true for anything. I don't care if you're buying prescription drugs. I don't care if you go to there are people that just don't carry insurance because it's just so darn expensive.
Well, here's the other thing. I have insurance through my employer. I work for a nonprofit. So it's good insurance, but it is what it is. I went to my physician, who I've had for a few years, and he had said to me, I'm going to give you a prescription, but don't use your insurance. Pay for it out of pocket. Because if you pay for it out of pocket, it'll cost you about $30 at XYZ pharmacy. But if you use your insurance, it's going to cost you your deductible, which is $100, and then they're going to bill the rest. But when you start looking at how the circle of it works, a lot of these healthcare insurance companies are now either owning or working with the pharmacies. So certain insurances own certain pharmacy chains, and they're your preferred pharmacy because they prefer to keep the money in-house, and it's just one big circle.
Yeah.
But you get these other little yellow cards at the pharmacies. They're called Good Script or Good Neighbor cards.
I know what
The savings on those things is amazing sometimes with some of the scripts that you need. I'm fortunate. I mean, I'm in really good health. I don't use a lot of prescriptions, but you need an antibiotic or an anti-inflammatory for something or whatever. Those can get expensive. So.
Yeah, but I do think there is a need to look at that.
Oh, absolutely.
Say what in the world is going on.
And I hope that the committee that they're forming in the study that they're looking to push forward, I hope that it gets the honest, clean look that it deserves. I know that there will be lobbyists that will be like, listen, you can't allow this to happen because it'll damage our profitability, or and they'll come up with some. But that's the point of what a study and a committee is supposed to be, is to vet all of that out. Let it take its course. Stop, don't interfere.
Yeah. Well, let the results.
Let the results be what they are.
Speak for themselves, and then people can decide based on the results. I mean, my concern and my fear, because my husband and I are both self-employed, so we buy through the
Health Connector.
The Health Connector.
Sure.
And I'm not the only one. I mean, I've had conversations about what people who are working and they get paid insurance, like a portion of it paid through their employer.
Sure.
It doesn't seem a whole lot cheaper than what I'm paying. It's like, holy smokes, it's just expensive everywhere. But the concern, I would imagine, from a lawmaker perspective is eventually the costs are going to get so high, people are just going to say, you know what, I'll pay the penalty every year and call it a day. I mean,
you pay the penalty, but
and then it becomes a problem for other reasons.
Yeah. Because you pay the penalty, but then you're also paying for whatever the uninsured costs are. If something, God forbid, happens, you break an arm or a leg, you're looking at thousands of dollars for, an expensive piece of plaster for somebody to sign their autograph on. So, compared to the alternative, I think healthcare for all could be a very positive solution for people.
It's one of my mainstays, if you will. It's one of the things that is going to for sure drive me to the. I mean, amongst other things, energy and so on and so forth. There's a lot, obviously, to contend with. What do you top one or two things? What do you think you can get done in your first couple of years? Or what do you think you can tackle? Because you can't do it all.
No, you absolutely can't do it all. And anyone that stands up and says, I'm going to walk up to Beacon Hill, I'm going to rip open my shirt, my big ass on my shirt is going to come through, and I'm going to save the Commonwealth, is just naive. I tell all of my new employees when they're coming on board, give yourself a year of grace to learn the position. You're going to have some stumbles. No one walks into Beacon Hill knowing everything, no matter how much they try to convince you. I know some people that have been there for 10 years that will tell you, I still learn something every day. So there are no superheroes when it comes to legislators. My big things would be trying to support getting the ball rolling on state aid for the wastewater system in Dartmouth, continuing to help the people of New Bedford to block the building of Parallel Products, which was the plastics recycling center that they were trying to push on the residents of the North End. I would love to try and help secure additional state aid to save Station 9, the firehouse.
Yeah, because that'll be short-lived for sure, based on what's in place now.
Yeah, and here's the thing. So, people have asked me, why do you care about a fire station in New Bedford? You're in Dartmouth. Well, the 9th Bristol District includes all of Dartmouth and 3 precincts in Ward 1 in New Bedford.
Yep.
Ward D, Precinct D, Precinct E, and Precinct F. Station 9 abuts Precinct F. So it would have a direct impact on the residents that I represent. So I absolutely have skin in the game. I'm not just a guy from Dartmouth. And I grew up in New Bedford. I lived in New Bedford until I was in my late teens, almost my early 20s. So I know the people. I have family and friends that live in that community. I go to church half a block from where Station 9 is.
Oh, wow.
So, I'm very vested in the north end of New Bedford, even though I live and pay taxes in Dartmouth. But even when I was a business owner, I did business in New Bedford. So,
Well, and they're still part of the constituency of that
they're
district.
absolutely.
I mean,
oh, yeah. And I think sometimes, one of the things that I've found going door to door is that, some people didn't even know who their state representatives were. Because it's odd how they cut Ward 1 when they did the redistricting back in 2022, 23. They took it and they lopped it into about 6 pieces. They gave a portion of it to the representative in Westport, a piece of it, 3 precincts of it to Dartmouth, and the rest to Mark Sylvia.
yeah, districting is just bizarre.
Yeah. But there's a whole formula behind it. That's one thing I know I won't have to deal with for a few years, and I'm okay with that. But, to answer your question, my big focuses would be, making sure that, with the wastewater situation, we're able to get state aid here. That would help create good paying, solid jobs if we construct that. And it would help, if we were able to use labor agreements in there, that would help create jobs that are good, livable wages for our tradespeople. Our tradespeople, that industry is struggling with the lack of people that are in there. And we need to really start getting pipeline involved in terms of how do we encourage people to go into the trades? Because we need plumbers, we need electricians, we need bricklayers, we need steel workers, we need painters. Like, I can't draw a straight line with a ruler. You don't want to see me with a paintbrush. I mean, my daughters or my wife see me walking around with a paint can and a paintbrush, and they're like, "Whoa there, mister, where are you going with that?" That's why we have these tradespeople, but, they're all struggling. We need more, not only retention, but we need recruitment, and we need to be able to foster the apprenticeships that these people
those
can go
services
into.
are going to get more expensive if you don't have a pipeline of new people entering those fields.
And I've been fortunate because of my belief that tradespeople are I've really said this several times. I firmly believe that tradespeople will be the next millionaires in this country in the next generation, because there's so few of them that we need more. But the skill work that they do for in particular with people like me that can't paint a straight line. I would never try to do cement work or, steel work or what have you. When I needed renovations in my house, I call professionals. But we need the professionals to be there. So,
you need experience. The scary part is that as these people start to retire, you lose the experience. I mean, it's one thing to have an electrician that's dare I say, right out of trade school, and maybe
Yeah.
they got a couple of years under their belt. They're,
Yeah.
there's a whole
There's a whole process.
there's a whole process for that.
Apprenticeship and journeymanship, and but I've been endorsed by 4 as of today, at least 4 different trades groups. Laborers 385 has endorsed me. The Southeast Mass Labor Council has endorsed us. The Carpenters Union 330 has endorsed me. The AFL-CIO state level has issued an endorsement for me. And it's not by mistake. It's because they understand that I understand what working people are going through and what we need to foster moving forward.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you're going to need them even for some of these bigger infrastructure projects.
oh, absolutely. The project that they're building in the south end of New Bedford, the new Duval's Congdon School, I'm sure there are plenty of tradespeople on that project. Dartmouth is earmarked, or they've been talking about needing at least 2 or 3 new schools in the next 10 years, 15 years. The wastewater system, these are all projects that we're going to need qualified people. And the great thing about the project labor agreements is it guarantees quality work on time and cost efficiency. So we're crazy not to use them. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of projects ahead. It's going to be interesting to see kind of how all of this shakes out. And the more recent sort of experiment will be the Bourne Bridges. Not that that's part of this district, but it'll be for sure interesting to see how all that unfolds. Talking about skilled labor and
I've seen some of the markup
timelines.
drawings where they have like bicycle paths and attached to it, and they have a walking path, and I think that's great. I don't know what the timeline. Look at the project that we've been having done here on the South Coast over on 195. It seems like they're making some real headway there now with the new beams and what have you.
Yes.
But when we talk about traffic and things like that, I think about it. It brings me to the traffic situation here in Dartmouth, particularly Fonts Corner Road area. Fonts Corner, Hathaway Road, Route 6. I live off of Hicksville Road.
It's a traffic nightmare, it really is.
And I know after 3 o'clock, if I need to leave my home for something, I don't come down Fonts Corner Road to take Route 6.
Right.
I go down 195 to 140 and come back up because it's faster that way.
Yeah.
But, they've been proposing these. We've had some very big proposals of 40B projects across Dartmouth.
Yes.
Some of them, now let me be clear, we absolutely need affordable housing. I understand that on a personal level. But I feel like some of these developers and realtor combos have kind of taken advantage of the 40B loophole. They're proposing this mega project over on Hathaway Road.
Yes.
300 units.
I've been reading about that and following it a little bit.
The impact on the community would just be devastating. You're talking about 53,000 gallons of water a day being used once that project, if it came to fruition, happened. And the impact to the residents that live there on Eisenhower Street. I went over and spoke to some of the people, and they took me out into their backyard. And basically, from the distance of where we're sitting now in to where the cameras are, that's the property line difference on where the parking lot for these apartments would be versus their backyard. Conceivably, they could be sitting in their backyard having a barbecue and have someone by where the camera is sitting in a car looking through the windshield at them while they're eating a cheeseburger in their backyard. And I've spoke out against this project, and even the one that went through on Tucker Road at the old golf course. That wasn't so much about the size of the project there, because it was about 137 units. What I found was insulting was that the developer had the audacity to ask for waivers on the tie-in fees to the sewage system, which were already exasperating, and he wanted permits to be able to put sprinkler systems in the project. hello, we're having a water shortfall. We've been in drought for ages here. You know, so that was my issue with that project. But Hathaway Road is just, it's too big. It's too much. The formulas just don't work. They're counting on.
Traffic on that road today is
It's ridiculous.
I mean, that light, the way, just the way that it's situated. I mean, you could be sitting there for.
And they're trying to convince us that the state is still going to fix everything. They've been telling us that for years. We can't rely on that data. They're looking at, you know, they're using a calculation which they call the industry standard of 1.3 cars per unit. I don't know what a 0.3 car is supposed to be, but in reality,
Bicycle, maybe.
yeah, so one of these electric scooters. But in reality, I know where I live, everyone that's over the age of 18 that lives in a space, most likely or not, has a vehicle. You have a 2-bedroom house, you're going to have 2 cars. You have a 3-bedroom apartment, you're going to have 3. So I don't know what 1.3 cars, but what I do know is that you're looking at 600 cars in a space on top of Hathaway Road. It'd be a nightmare.
Yeah.
So.
And because there's nowhere for that track, you're either going towards 195, getting on the on-ramp, you know, if you were to come out of there and, you know, turn, you're either going to the highway or you're coming down to Route 6.
Right.
There's no other way to travel.
None.
So, yeah, it will for sure have an impact.
Great.
Great. What do you have coming up for events?
So we have the radio debate on WBSM, which is Saturday, August 8th at 11 a.m. We have the in-person candidates night on August 11th at 6 o'clock at the Dartmouth Town Hall. For me, we're just doing what we're doing campaign-wise. We're done fundraising for the most part.
Okay.
We've gotten what we need in order to run the kind of campaign that we want to. We're not heavy on the signs as far as I'm concerned. They're good, they're a useful tool, but signs don't vote, people do.
Right.
And if you can make that contact with people, that's what the most important thing is.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're out door knocking and meeting people.
We
really
have a very
shaking hands and
strong
meeting
people strategy, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, besides your website,
Yep.
Where do people find you?
PachecoForThePeople.com.
Yes. Wait. Talk about
So,
where people find you.
You can find me at PachecoForThePeople.com. On Facebook, it's very simple. It's Pacheco for the People. And on Instagram, it's Pacheco for the People.
Very consistent.
We love consistency. You know, you can send me an email if you'd like at ed@PachecoForThePeople.com. So.
Great.
And I am everywhere. You know, sometimes I'm hitting 2 or 3 different events a day. So
Busy on top of working.
on top of working.
Yeah.
So because
yeah.
the world doesn't stop spinning.
And for those listening and watching, just want to put out a reminder, Tuesday, September 1st is primary day. Get out and vote. And if for some wild reason you can't get to the primary, be sure to get out on November 3rd,
Yeah.
which is also a Tuesday. Elections are always on Tuesday. But please get out and vote. The stakes are high this year, and we need solutions to our challenges.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for
Thank
taking
you.
time.
I really appreciate
Good
it.
luck with
Thank
your
you so much.
election.
Thank you.
And yeah,
We'll see what happens. Maybe we'll see again after September 1st.
Yes,
So-
yes, I would love to have revisit these conversations
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
it'll come here quick and
We're down to about 30 days right now.
yeah,
So 30 days till primary.
yeah,
Get out and vote, folks.
yes, yes.
So.
And that's a wrap.